This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
And the time right now is 4:27 here on your Tuesday. Thanks for waking up and starting your day with us here at RTV6. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. We begin with the latest of Hurricane Dorian. The storm just battering the Bahamas. And now people on the East Coast are waiting to see what damage it might do there.
Yeah, yesterday we watched the system as it kind of just stalled. It was moving so slowly past the Bahamas there. We know this morning it's been downgraded to a Category 3, but still very strong winds and still a dangerous storm. So people along Florida's coast, up the East Coast, they're preparing for this. There's some evacuations in place. A lot of people are just hunkering down, getting ready for this to move through.
And look at this video, just people escaping all that flooded water there.
Yeah, and we're still working to learn the devastation in the Bahamas, obviously, as they're going to be trying to pull people out, going in to check and see how many casualties or fatalities we have there. So obviously pretty devastating. But we do want to bring in Todd and talk about what it's looking like right now, what it's looking like on the satellite.
You know, it hasn't moved much at all. You mentioned it had Scott Weaker here down to a Category 3 storm, but still very dangerous. But the track still keeps it offshore in Florida. They're going to get some rough surf. They're going to get a little bit of rain, but it does not look like they are going to get a direct hit from this storm system. A direct hit is classified by the eye wall passing on to land. Closer to home, it's a beautiful morning for us here. Could be a little bit of patchy fog out there this morning. That'll settle in once again. But look at those temperatures down into the 50s to the north in Zionsville as well as Logansport, Bloomington. You're at 60 degrees, a little warmer here in the city at 64 degrees, and it's going to be a great day for us today. Mostly sunny skies. There is the chance of a few isolated storms sneaking in here, probably from sunset and then into the overnight hours, but the daylight hours today should be just fine. So get out there and enjoy. Today 85, tomorrow probably only in the mid-70s. So this cold front coming through is going to cool us down. But overall, it's a pretty nice stretch of weather for us.
All right, Todd, thank you.
Right. Todd, stick around for just a minute because you got to ride the Red Line over the weekend when it first opened. How was it?
It was crowded, but it was great. And nice and quiet, nice and smooth. And a lot of people were riding it yesterday as well. It was packed.
All right, well, we're going to talk about this today because obviously that was open over the weekend, but the problem that we might be talking about today is it's the first time we have the commute, the big rush hours people are going to work.
Yes, and we're adding in school buses that will be back out as school picks up after the Labor Day holiday. So we're going to see how things go today with all that extra traffic.
All right, well, another story we have is in our Hiring Hoosiers. We're taking a look at a program that's giving students a jump start in the aviation industry.
Yeah, this is extremely important. As we all know, air travel isn't slowing down at all. So we're going to look into this program where these young people learn to be pilots. We've got that plus news, weather, and traffic here to start your Tuesday.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Coming up on Good Morning Indiana, Hurricane Dorian continues to make its way toward the East Coast. We have the latest on the deadly storm.
And police are investigating a hit-and-run crash that sent a pedestrian to the hospital. What we know about the search for the driver responsible.
Plus, as you return to work and school, you'll notice big changes with the official launch of the Red Line. How it's also affecting other Indigo bus routes. It's 4:30 on your Tuesday morning. Thanks for waking up early with us. Hopefully it's not too painful after that extended weekend that many of us had. I'm Meredith Barrick.
And I'm Lauren Casey. We do want to bring in our own Todd Clausen and talk about the forecast for today. We have a pretty great week ahead, Todd.
Yeah, you know, there's one little hiccup late tonight into the overnight hours, but I really don't think it's going to impact many people here as a cold front goes through. Otherwise, lots of sunshine in the forecast. Now, there is just a little bit of patchy fog here once again this morning. Yesterday, it was a little thicker. It was a little more widespread. You notice today, at least right now, there's just a few isolated patches here where we have lower visibility. So just know that it's out there, but I don't think it's going to be a big problem for us here this morning. And the view in downtown shows basically no visibility issues whatsoever as you look from downtown to the north. So the skies are clear, so any fog that is out there, that'll burn off soon as the sun gets higher above the horizon. And then to our north, some storms scooting across Lake Michigan there from Wisconsin into the state of Michigan. And that's the front that's going to slide through here late tonight, bringing us the opportunity to pick up a little bit of rainfall. But temperatures this morning, they are in the 50s and 60s, so it's a little on the cool side. But overall, throughout the day today, as everybody heads back to work, we're looking at mostly sunny skies, about 78 degrees for your noon hour, with our high temperature today getting up to 85 degrees. The time now is 4:31. Let's get a first look at traffic on this Tuesday morning with Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Here's a live look right now at your commute on the southeast side, I-465 near Arlington Avenue. Traffic in this area is moving along smoothly, both eastbound and westbound. No crashes to report on the southeast side for your commute. So let's take a trip a little bit farther north, I-465 here at US 36 Pendleton Pike area. You can see just a few headlights making their way across your screen right now. Again, no crashes in this spot, so everything looks pretty good for your Tuesday morning commute.
At 4:32, all eyes are on Hurricane Dorian after it devastated the Bahamas and continues to move toward Florida and the East Coast. At least 5 people in the Bahamas are dead following the storm. It's now moving off the islands, but remains a major Category 3 storm as it draws closer to the U.S.
Millions of Americans are under mandatory evacuations along the southeastern coastline. ABC Serena Marshall is in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, with the very latest.
For more than 24 hours straight, Hurricane Dorian battering the Bahamas. 13,000 homes in the Bahamas estimated to have been destroyed.
Lenny's house. Used to be Lenny's house. What's left of it.
Floodwaters devouring the homes that weren't washed away. Already, at least 5 deaths are blamed on the storm, including this woman's grandson.
Did they say how he died?
I think they say he drowned. We are in the midst of a historic tragedy in parts of northern Bahamas. Our mission and focus now is search, rescue, and recovery.
Our ABC News team riding out the storm in Marsh Harbor.
Swim! Swim! Swim!
Helping lead these people to safety. Stranded during the eye, the storm now creeping towards the Florida coastline. Officials ordering mandatory evacuations from Florida to North Carolina. Roughly 2 million people.
Mandatory evacuation is now in place.
In some cases, going door to door. This entire highway moving now away from the coast. But not everyone is heeding the warning. This man heading into the waters in Palm Beach. For others, not taking any chances.
The anticipation of it is nerve-wracking. Flooding remains the main concern. Some forecasters are predicting we could see up to 15 inches of rain in certain locations, with storm surge reaching 7 feet. Serena Marshall, ABC News, New Smyrna Beach, Florida.
Airlines are offering to help those who had their Labor Day plans put on hold because of Hurricane Dorian. Some of the top U.S. airlines are offering travel waivers for flights that were canceled because of the storm. The waiver allows you to change flight plans without paying fees. Travelers headed to dozens of airports in Florida, some in the Carolinas, and one in Georgia can rebook at a later date with the waiver. Southwest says it will also waive the $95 pet fee for some customers.
As many of you head back to school and work after this Labor Day weekend, it might be the first time you encounter the red line changes. RTV6's Cameron Riddle is working for you, explaining what the new route means for riders.
Well, thousands of Hoosiers have already hopped on Indigo's brand new Red Line route across Indianapolis. But now as the long holiday weekend comes to a close, that means tomorrow marks the first official day that people who will be riding the bus to work or school have to deal with changes, and that means getting picked up over there. The 13-mile Red Line running from Broad Ripple to the University of Indianapolis replaces several routes, puts bus stops in new places, and adds bus services to streets that didn't have it before. For example, if you're on the south side and last week you rode Route 22 into downtown, tomorrow Route 31 will pick you up at that same stop you've always boarded at. For those of you who used to ride Route 31 along Madison Avenue, that is now Red Line Route 90. Again, same stop with a different route number. Similarly, buses along the Red Line, where the bus has its own express lane, there are also new stops. Here along Meridian, you used to catch the bus here on the right side of the road, but now that the new Red Line is running, you will get on at the platforms in the center of the streets. So again, this has technically already been in effect since September 1st. You'll note here on the signs it says this stop will no longer be served. So if you are here tomorrow trying to get on the bus, you will miss it. When your morning commute begins, you need to be over there to get on the Red Line route. We have all the details and the maps on how you can get around, things you need to know if you are getting on the bus. It is on our website, theindychannel.com, and on the RTV6 app. Working for you tonight in Indianapolis, I'm Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
At 4:36 today, help will be offered to residents of a mobile home park who were abruptly told to pack up and leave. Residents of the I-70 mobile home park reached out to RTV6 2 weeks ago saying they weren't given enough notice, answers, or resources. In some cases, the residents needed to move their actual homes, which they own, but they do not own the land beneath them. To help, the mayor's office and elected officials are holding a resource fair today. That resource fair will be held at the United Steelworkers Hall on Addison Street from 2 to 7. Resources like legal clinic services and housing assistance will be available.
New overnight, police are looking for the driver in a northeast side hit-and-run crash that left a pedestrian injured. The victim was found near the 3900 block of East 30th Street. Police say the man was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Information on the suspect has not been released at this time.
It's 4:37. A Carmel family is suing a major maker of electronic cigarettes. The lawsuit accused Juul Labs Incorporated of making e-cigarettes that contain excessive amounts of nicotine without warning that they're addictive. The family filed the federal lawsuit last month in Indianapolis. Juul says the lawsuit is without merit. The case comes as federal and state health officials investigate a nationwide outbreak of severe lung illnesses linked to vaping.
Hospitals in Chicago say they are being shortchanged by what Indiana's Medicaid program pays for severely ill children at out-of-state hospitals. Leaders with the University of Chicago's Comer Children's Hospital says it was paid $4 million less last year than if it was an Indiana hospital. The hospital says many children they treat come from Northwest Indiana as they are closer to them than Indianapolis. Indiana lawmakers considered allowing higher Medicaid payments to Comer earlier this year, but did not move forward.
Indianapolis is getting millions of dollars to help support young people who have nowhere to live. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is awarding $75 million to end youth homelessness in 23 communities across the country. Nearly $4 million will go to Indianapolis to help people under the age of 25 who are experiencing homelessness. The money will be used to fund a range of housing programs.
The search continues for missing passengers after a deadly boat fire leaves at least 25 dead. Coming up, the latest on the rescue efforts.
And scammers are now targeting your Amazon Alexa, Google Home, and even Siri. After the break, what the BBB recommends you to do to protect yourself. Todd.
Here's the satellite radar loop of Dorian as it sits offshore there in Florida. You can see some of the outer bands of rain making their way onshore in Florida, but the center of the storm just now north of the Bahamas. We'll talk more about Dorian in our local forecast going forward throughout the remainder of the week. Coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 4:39. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Home to Scratch Made. Come on home to Cracker Barrel.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. 4:42 here on your Tuesday, and this is a live look on the west side, I-465 and I-74. You can see traffic there is moving along just fine this early hour. No crashes to report around the metro area at this time. Here is what's making national headlines here on your Tuesday morning. All eyes are on Hurricane Dorian as that storm begins to move slowly a little bit closer to the United States after devastating the Bahamas. Coastal communities from Florida to North Carolina have ordered evacuations as that storm approaches. The National Hurricane Center says Dorian will make its way up the East Coast through the rest of the week, bringing storm surges, dangerous winds, and heavy rain.
This morning, search and rescue efforts continue for 9 people still missing after a deadly boat fire in California. 25 people who were on the diving boat have been confirmed dead. It caught fire and sank near Santa Cruz Island yesterday morning. 5 crew members managed to escape after the blaze engulfed the vessel called the Conception. The passengers inside were sleeping at the time and were trapped below deck.
Our hearts go out to the families of the victims of this terrible tragedy. We understand the tremendous burden that they are under right now as they wait to determine exactly what happened and what condition and situation their loved ones are in.
It's still unclear what caused the fire, but officials say there's no indication of foul play.
Well, the trial of former real estate tycoon Robert Durst is finally scheduled to begin in Los Angeles. Durst is accused of killing his best friend, Susan Berman, 19 years ago. The case was the subject of a 2015 HBO documentary called The Jinx, which triggered his arrest.
We are working for you with a recall alert this morning. You'll want to pay special attention if you have a Ford parked in your driveway. The automaker is recalling more than than 550,000 trucks and SUVs because the back seats may not properly restrain passengers in a crash. The recall covers 2018 through 2020 Ford F-150 Explorers and Lincoln Aviators. 2019 and 2020 Super Duty trucks and Ford Expeditions are also included. Ford says it doesn't know of any injuries. Dealers will inspect and replace seat structures if needed.
At 4:45, the measles outbreak in the United States continues to grow. The CDC reports the number of cases has surpassed 1,200. Measles cases have been confirmed in 31 states. The CDC says the most are among people who are not vaccinated against the virus. The CDC says more than 75% of the measles cases are linked to the outbreaks in New York State and New York City. A director at the CDC says there's a reasonable chance the U.S. will lose its measles elimination status in October because of the ongoing outbreaks in New York. Here at 4:45, want to check in with Todd and Hurricane Dorian.
All right, it's weakened a little bit here across the area. It's down to a Category 3 storm with sustained winds at 120 miles per hour. That's still a major hurricane, and here's been the issue the past few days. It hasn't really moved much at all, very stationary. But you notice the eye not quite as well defined as it was 24 hours ago. And here is the Florida coast, and it is just lurking offshore. Some of the outer bands of rain making it onshore, but the center of the storm is going to stay offshore. And here is the track. It's expected to turn to the north here throughout the day today, maybe strengthening a little bit more. So this track would give Florida some rain and some very rough surf, some maybe coastal flooding, and the beaches are all going to take a pretty good beating here with some coastal beach erosion. And then it's going to kind of hug the Carolina coast, maybe a glancing blow as a Category 2 storm for the Outer Banks before it shoots out into the Atlantic and then eventually up into Canada. But it's a slow-moving storm system, but now that it's going to start its northward trend, it's going to pick up speed here pretty quickly in the coming days. 64 here in central Indiana. The winds are out of the east-southeast at 5 miles per hour. Sunrise and sunset times as our days continue to get shorter and shorter. In fact, we're losing about 5 to 6 minutes of daylight each day here as we continue now to push through the month of September. 50s in Crawfordsville and Greencastle, 64 in Indy, 63 in Richmond. We're going to have a string of very, very comfortable overnight periods here in the next few days, with lows that'll eventually be in the 50s for almost everybody going forward. But today, with the sunshine and a little bit of patchy fog here this morning that we need to burn off, but eventually the sunshine across the area, your noontime temperature, that is going to be 79 degrees. And then with mostly sunny skies, highs today, they'll be climbing up into the low to mid 80s. So it's a warmer day for us here across the area, and we will continue to see those temperatures above normal here, at least throughout the day today, before we actually go below normal in the coming days. This is something we'll have to keep an eye on here to our north. This is going to continue to try to dive down to the south. May bring some showers to northern Indiana this morning. The better bet for rain now will be when this cold front comes through later on this afternoon, and the Storm Prediction Center does have a good chunk of the state under the slight risk for severe weather as this cold front starts to make its way into the area. But the timing of this front is late tonight, so the daylight hours are going to be just fine here for most of us. Again, could be some stray showers in northern Indiana, but it's really from sunset, which is 8:11 here this evening and beyond, that this front will start to make its way through the area. Main threat would be some damaging wind, maybe a little bit of hail in some of these storms, but they should be weakening as they make their way through the area since they're coming through during the overnight hours, and that's going to set us up for what should be a beautiful stretch of weather going forward in this forecast the next few days. So still mostly sunny at 7 p.m., then some scattered storms this evening with temperatures that will be in the 70s. And here is that forecast for the day tomorrow. Mostly sunny and new air masses in place with temperatures that will be in the mid 70s. Here's your 7-day planning forecast, and you see all the sunshine. I'll highlight the high temperatures here in the 70s all the way into the weekend, but I'll also want to point out for you these low temperatures will be down into the 50s as we head into Thursday and Friday morning, and even Saturday most of us are probably in the 50s across the area. So a pretty nice stretch of weather here as we make our way through the first week of September. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a live look right now at traffic for your Tuesday morning in downtown. It's already picking up here at I-70 and I-65 at the North Split. Traffic is moving along just fine through the downtown area. No crashes here to slow you down, so let's plan out your drive. Taking a look at some drive times heading in from the east side. If you're traveling westbound on I-70 from Post Road to the North Split, it's a 10-minute commute, so no delays there this morning. And then southbound I-69 through Hamilton County starting starting at State Road 13 down to the I-465 ramps. That's only going to take you about 13 minutes. So that is good news. Let's take a live look right now out on I-70 near the airport ramps. You can see traffic here is moving along just fine this morning. Remember to check the flight status before you head out there.
With more mass shootings across our country, some are calling for action, and it doesn't involve gun reform. Doctors are encouraging people to learn basic life support, or BLS. It involves stopping bleeding in a traumatic event. There are classes that teach how to do this the right way, and now there are kits people can actually buy for these types of situations. They come with trauma pads, sterile gloves, duct tape, bandages, and antiseptic.
You know, we always say thoughts and prayers. That's great. But go out there, take a BLS class. Go out there, learn about how to stop bleeding. Go out there and practice safety. Don't text and drive. Don't do things where you put yourself and others in danger. And this is something that we can do as a nation.
Doctors emphasize that people who are caught in this situation should first make sure they are safe. People should then check for the source of bleeding and determine whether it's life-threatening.
At 4:50, scammers are keeping up with the newest technology, and now they can target your Amazon Alexa, even the Siri on your phone. The Better Business Bureau has issued a warning about the scam, saying that it happens when you ask the virtual assistant to look up a phone number for you. Well, the algorithm on the devices have picked up scam numbers, and that gives that answer instead. The scammers have figured out that some search engine techniques, so they show up as the top results. If you call the number, they'll likely try to convince you to send them money for special promotions. The BBB says it's always important instead to look up the contact information yourself.
The TSA is reversing its decision to ban a popular Star Wars souvenir item. Why they changed their mind, coming up next.
And the search for a missing 10-year-old girl from Gas City continues. New at 5 o'clock, how the community is working together to find her. But first,
I'm Vinny Politan. Jury selection is set to begin today on Court TV in our next big trial, Ohio versus Skylar Richardson. She was a high school senior, a cheerleader, and just days after the prom, prosecutors say she killed her newborn baby. The defense says the child was stillborn. We're live in Ohio this week on Court TV.
And don't forget, you can watch the all-new Court TV live on your mobile device by visiting CourtTV.com. We'll be right back.
Sponsored by Citizens Energy Group.
Welcome back. Well, the force was with Star Wars fans this time as the TSA reversed its ban on souvenir Coke bottles.
The orb-shaped bottles resembled either droids or thermal detonators. The TSA banned them last week, saying they looked like explosives. The bottles are exclusively sold at Star Wars lands in Disney World and Disneyland. Friday, the TSA said the bottles can be allowed as a carry-on item, but they must be empty.
Well, Krispy Kreme is bringing back its pumpkin spice glazed donut just in time for fall, and it's hoping to knock out the competition. The chain says you can bring in a not so tasty pumpkin spice flavor treat and trade it in for a donut for free. This year, Krispy Kreme has 3 varieties to choose from. The pumpkin spice donut is filled with specially made cheesecake cream, a pumpkin spice glazed donut, and pumpkin spice cake donut. They will only be available until Sunday. Ooh, we got to act pretty fast.
Yeah,
there.
no kidding.
All right. Well, we do want to bring in Todd, and we do have a little bit more fall-ish weather coming up.
Yeah.
You know, once we get past today's still in the mid-80s, so it's a little on the warmer side, but the cold front goes through tonight, and that'll usher in cooler temperatures for the end of the week. But here are our highs this afternoon. So it's on the warm side. We're above normal by about 5 to 6 degrees, depending on where you are, with mostly sunny skies. Once we get closer to sunset this evening, we'll bring in a cold front with the chance of some showers and storms. And then there's that nice stretch of weather for much of the rest of the week. We'll talk more about it when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 4:57.